Oh, thank you, Chelsea. Well, thank you for coming this afternoon and distracting you for cups of coffee and everything. So, my talk today is basically virtual storytelling is the final frontier. I'm afraid Star Trek has been an essential part of my life for the last 50 years. I was 6 years old when I watched the first episode when it was shown in the UK. And I'm sufficiently sad that my youngest daughter, Catherine, is actually named after Catherine Janeway, the captain of Voyager. But and also, Star Trek is better than Star Wars. Anyway, so the key thing is that Star Trek, because it's better than Star Wars, is able to predict so much of modern life correctly. So with mobile phones and with iPads, voice-controlled computers, the holodeck, and also the absolute necessity for bored people to be in charge of everything, which I'm also dead in favour of. So, however, Star Trek really got it wrong where it completely mattered, was that space is not really the final frontier, it's actually virtual storytelling. So, just to give you some examples, this is a scene from a project that some people at the University of New South Wales have been working on, which is basically instructing people about the realities of cancer. So you can basically investigate cancerous cells and how they would interact with the body. And then scaling things up to different dimensions, you can also go on a virtual bus trip all around Mars. Framestore and NASA have built a virtual experience where, using data that's been collected by the rover, you can explore the countryside, the countryside of Mars, and just go around again with all your friends on the bus, which is quite cool. And since I'd imagine a lot of people here have used the Vive, you can also use virtual reality to visit the wonders of the deep on a sunken wreck. So with an expansive, endlessly explorable landscape, VR offers a radical new form for storytelling. It's a brand new medium. And it's because of that that creators from all walks of life, not just game makers, are now turning to VR. Whilst we still believe it's in the early days, there are still very few best practices established, and the new language of storytelling is also being defined. But we at Unity want to try and help push and foster experimentation by the creatives that are out there. So really, say virtual reality is a storyteller's dream on the grounds that you have, we're starting to put tools into the hands of as many people as possible and rethinking our addressable creator audience. So it's not just game makers that are making VR content. And I'm trying to accelerate the delivery of new types of experiences. So today, I'll give a quick overview of why we think this new medium is so powerful, and including how people have started to use it to tell us new stories from unheard voices, and what Unity in particular is doing to add critical new features to enable creatives to bring these stories to life. VR gives creators the opportunity to deliver experiences that an audience would not be physically capable of going to themselves. So if you look at the experience, for example, the Everest VR experiences on show outside in the gallery outside, I am not the sort of person who could climb up to the top of Everest and stick flags and things, but it's an amazing opportunity to do so. And so, you can also visit, strange new worlds and microscopic structures or fictional locations. Alternatively, VR can be used to tell stories where identifying the people concerned may be difficult or hazardous to the subjects that you're trying to tell about. And so using VR allows the viewer to experience those types of situations, but still maintain anonymity for the people that's involved in the story. And I have some examples of that as well. Okay, so you can't come to Iceland and not talk about Bjork. And so an example of the first category about trying to explain, new worlds, which is would be the Bjork digital exhibition, which is currently on show at Somerset House in London. So, in this unique work, Bjork has prepared a number of VR experiences to accompany her first VR album, which is Vulnicura. These are a mixture of 360 videos which have been shot in different locations around Iceland, but also a series of VR apps, both for Vive, Oculus, and for Gear VR, that accompany and visualize some of the themes that's explored in the tracks. So one example is a track called Not Get, where you can move around inside the body of a huge Bjork goddess, which is quite fun. And another would be Mouth Mantra, which is possibly one of the most disturbing experiences I've ever had, which is you can actually live inside Bjork's mouth while she's singing, which is really quite a bit weird. just to continue with the Bjork thing, Unity was also involved in the first virtual press conference, which was used to announce the opening of Bjork Digital at Somerset House. So motion capture data from Bjork, which was collected in a studio here in Reykjavik, was then streamed through the wonders of the internet and applied to a character that's running in Unity in London, and was then used to interact with somebody who was basically hosting a press conference. And so that, this virtual character, which had this incredible, bizarre costumes and sort of different sort of non-human sort of representations, was able to have a two-way dialogue with somebody in the audience. So that was quite fun working with that. Another example would be like maintaining anonymity. So one of the projects that we've been involved is with where virtual reality has been used to guarantee anonymity, is a project called We Wait from Aardman Animation, which was developed in conjunction with the BBC, which is available on Oculus. So Aardman are famous for, Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep and great stuff like that. But they were asked by the BBC to collaborate with them to put together a VR experience which is based on a group of Syrian refugees that are on the beach in Turkey trying to get away by boat and get to freedom in Greece. The piece is based on a number of interviews by the BBC News team, with dozens of refugees that they interviewed, in this situation, and allows their stories to be told, but without any fear of retribution, by actually depicting, real characters. So the video I'm going to show you in a minute gives you an idea about the story, but Aardman has made great use of their skills in character animation to make the characters completely believable and lifelike despite their very simple appearance. So I'm just going to show you a quick video clip, and hopefully the sound will work.
They were supposed to be here an hour ago.
Maybe they don't come.
No! Stop your engine! Stop your engine!
If you ever get a chance to take a look at that experience, I would really strongly recommend it. I found it very disturbing watching it the first time when I went to visit them in Bristol, and it's a really nicely managed piece of work. So the question is, who are telling these stories? Who are the people that are trying to get these messages out onto virtual reality? So these creators, they're musicians like Bjork, and they're journalists, they are traditional filmmakers. For many, VR development is a brand new technical challenge for them, but we believe that a lack of technical expertise should not be a barrier for these people to tell their stories. We're trying to make these things as accessible as possible and not be reliant on big programming teams behind them. So one of the things that we set up at Unity is an initiative called Unity Labs. This is a blue sky research team that's been running for about a year, and there's some information on some of the projects that they've been running at labs.unity.com. And so there's two main sort of research groups. There's a group that's based in Paris that's looking at sort of the latest graphical techniques, and they've produced some really nice looking sort of videos and stuff on the website. But the team I'm going to talk about specifically is the VR team, which is based in San Francisco. So they're working on two tools at the moment. The first one is a thing called Editor VR. So there's Timothy West, who's one of the producers on the team, demonstrating the VR tool at GDC this year. So this is a product that is launching later this year, which has been designed for use inside the Unity editor, so you can place objects whilst living directly inside the scene. So at present, most people, when creating in VR, they would make some changes. They would then have to build that project, then deploy it onto the headset, stick the headset on, and then take a look at it and see what the changes are going to be like. So it's slow, it is tedious, and it requires an experienced developer to be able to sort of get to that point and make the builds. So with Editor VR, is an alternative to that. So the designer is able to use a VR headset and a series of touch controllers to view and position objects whilst viewing the scene directly from the player's perspective. Okay. And this allows for fast iterations. You can see what effect the objects would have on your scene in real time. Examining the changes using the game view within Unity would not give you that same feedback. It's not going to take into effect what you can see from the viewer's perspective. But you can now readily place objects and observe potential issues like frame rate drops and so on, right as they happen, saving you valuable time and also letting you focus on designing what the scene's going to look like rather than troubleshooting. Okay, so the second product I wanted to talk about is much more of an inclusive tool. So this is something, again, it's a work in progress at the moment. This is a tool which is designed for use by general creatives that have any programming experience, called Carte Blanche. So Carte Blanche is designed to provide a suite of tools for creatives to build VR worlds and experiences with no programming background using a series of cards. So these cards are assets that you can position and set up within the scene that have characters, they have props, they have behaviors and so on. So you can position that without having to have any coding experience whatsoever. We also have a voice-activated controller inside the game, inside the environment called You, that you can talk to and ask questions about what's the best way to solve particular problems. And as you can imagine, within these scenes, stories and ecosystems will come to life as you try things out. So we will give many more creators their voice and a new means of expression. So the key thing about Unity Labs is that we wanted to try and make these tools as freely available as possible. And so there's a lot of the stuff, even some of the early work that we've done has already been released as open source that's available under an MIT license, so you can download and modify these projects and make use of them in your own way. So I'm just going to show a quick video to give you the basic idea behind Carte Blanche, and I'll highlight some of the features of it whilst we're running. Of course, you have to use these things in a hipster cafe. It's completely compulsory. Though this guy hasn't got a beard.
Hello, my name is You. Yes, like the first letter of Unity. I'll try to help you if you would like. You just need to look at me to activate me. If you need help finding something, like finding trees, call me by saying, "Hey, you." Okay, let's get started. Here's a few different worlds you can build. Pick your favorite.
The medieval, please.
So as you can see, you can select these cards decks of cards that will be available through the asset store. So these would be like 3D models that are fully textured and rendered and so on, which you can then position and rescale and select within the scene. You have the option, if you don't like stuff, you can just say, I'll select to get one and throw one out and then throw the card away. So you can iterate very quickly in this way. So again, it's all touch controlled. So you can select objects with the triangle and then rotate them using hand gestures. And there's some fairly simple terrain tools you can use for drawing out, roads and sort of different environmental sort of areas you can work in to help try and populate the scene. You can change your viewpoint, so it's now looking at it from a player's perspective, and then you can select different items and then say, okay, I want to put these things over there, make that particular size, and then shuffle them around inside the scene. So it's very intuitive, and it's no coding involved as well.
Hey, you. Find zombies for me.
I found 102 results.
Filter the word cartoon.
I have only 14 results left.
So you can select additional cards. Now these cards would have animations associated with them, different materials you can apply to your characters, and also, so just show you some examples here. So you have a wheel that can show different things. So you can change the material, like the skin colours and so on. You want to make it really dusty green. And then you can look at their behaviours, so they can have pathfinding behaviours to navigate their way through the scene. All that's built in as part of a nav mesh that comes with the components. And you can look at walks, hikers and so on. And there it goes. So now you can have a look at some of the player character, what this guy's going to look like.
Hi! What would you like to enter as text?
Let's go shoot some zombies! Exclamation mark.
So you can set up different areas with your development environment where you can save these individual scenes.
What can I do?
Here are some ideas.
Save and invite my Facebook friends.
So again, I should iterate, this is really very much a work in progress. This is an idea about something that we would see as a tool chain that people could work with for telling stories in VR going forward. So I have no release dates or anything, so don't ask me about that. And it's not coming next week. Okay, so basically, going back to my Star Trek theme, because Star Trek is the best thing in the world, the future is beginning now on the grounds that, in summary, VR gives storytellers a huge opportunity to exchange strange new worlds and to tell stories from new perspectives. Unity as a company, we are fully committed to provide the best tools available to do so and for that to be as inclusive as possible. So I'm on Twitter and at Andy Brammall, and I'm here for the rest of the day, and thank you for listening. Thank you.